with Godzilla Resurgence literally only days away, I decided to do a review on the other monsters of Toho who will hopefully one day return back to the spotlight in some form or another, in hopefully what I assume is the new movie series, assuming that, Resurgence does well. Also, if anyone's wondering why I haven't talked about the new trailer, it's because there's not really much else to talk about other than holy shit, purple atomic breath, which actually looked... I was kind of like, I don't know if I trust purple atomic breath, but then I saw, Godzilla charging up, and I was like, yeah, I'm sold. And I am excited that, yes, it is officially coming to America. I am glad that the movie is coming to America. I'm not aware of what state... how much, if it's going to be, selected theaters or, anywhere I can be able to see it. Or if it's just going to be left subbed, or is going to be dubbed. So, yeah. That was just my quick thoughts on it, because there wasn't... The trailer looks good. It's very bleak, very, there's just nothing good for for anybody in that situation, really. And again, the suit, I've been... at first I was very kind of on edge about the Godzilla design, but the more I look at it and how they portray it in all these old trailers, and how it looks like they're going to portray it in the movie, it looks really good. So, yeah, that's kind of my... I didn't really want to do a video. I was thinking about doing a video on the trailer, but there wasn't really much else outside of the first trailer that I could have talked about other than the atomic breath. Anyway... Also, dear God, I love this one shot of this moving shot of I guess you're in a car and the camera's up looking at Godzilla as it's passing, and I was like, man, that is such a good shot. Anyway, so that is kind of my thoughts on the new trailer. I know some people have kind of wondered what I thought about it. I want to do I thought about doing a vid about it, but I was like, there's not really much else I can do to talk about it that hasn't been talked about already in the first trailer, aside from the purple breath, which, yeah, for me looks cool. Anyway. But yeah, I figured, you know what, since Godzilla's making a comeback, why not talk about a Godzilla miniseries that did spotlights on the other monsters from Toho, essentially 5 other monsters, and those 5 are Anguirus, Rodan, Hedorah, Titanosaurus, and Kumanga. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing a re-review of Godzilla Legends. I did one about a year or so back, and I was like, you know what, I've been doing a few re-reviews here and there, and I kind of enjoy Legends. I'll get more into it, because there's stuff I like about this and stuff I don't like. Anyway, so let's get it. Let's jump into this. Starting, I'm going to talk about each 5 issues separately. Now, the big thing with this is that initially, from what I understand, Godzilla Legends was supposed to be like the Transformer Spotlight comics, where they were going to do these one-shots that were going to tie into the main Godzilla universe, IDW universe, which at the time was Godzilla, Kingdom of Monsters, then the Godzilla Ongoing, which by ongoing was 13 fucking issues, and then finally Rulers of Earth. But for some reason they decided not to do that, and do them as their own one-shot stories, which I actually think was for the better. And this kind of started the line, this and Gangsters and Goliaths started the whole line of these Godzilla one-shot stories. Anyway, so kicking things off is the amazing issue that centers around Godzilla's best buddy, Anguirus. And this is written by this was co-written by Matt Frank, and the artwork was done by Matt Frank. The story is quintessentially that this military group is a G-Force, essentially, is learning how to use sonics to repel and control giant monsters. And they accidentally bring in Destroya. they accidentally call Destroya, and they're just like, oh shit, what do we do? So in a desperate move to try and call Godzilla, they use the sonics again, but instead of calling Godzilla, they end up calling Anguirus. So yeah, Anguirus versus Destroya. It goes about as well as you think it will. There's actually... And here's what I love about Matt Frank's artwork in this comic, and, it went on through the rest of Rulers of Earth, was that there's this brilliant scene, there's this hilarious scene of, when Anguirus and Destroya first face off, Anguirus has this look of, I'm a fuck you up, and Destroya just has this look of, who the hell are you? Are you stupid or something? Do you know who I am? And of course, Anguirus gets his ass kicked by Destroya. But he puts up a fight. But come on, man, it's Anguirus. He's never. They even acknowledge. The best part is that they acknowledge that Anguirus has never won a fight ever since his first encounter with Godzilla. And it's kind of funny. There's this in the picture. There's little tidbits of like Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla vs. Gigan and Godzilla Raids Again. It's hilarious. They even acknowledge, yeah, Anguirus may have been the second known kaiju, but he's the second kaiju to ever appear. But he's never won a fight. He's never gotten a win under his belt. And I thought that was hilarious. And to have him fight the thing that can quintessentially kill Godzilla is unheard of. More or less. So, having Anguirus fight Destroya was something to behold. He puts up a fight, but come on, Destroya nearly kills him. Had it not been for the humans helping Anguirus, he would have lost. And there's a great ending with Godzilla at the end. But yeah, this was a great intro. Having Anguirus and Destroya fight was awesome. The human characters were a lot of fun. This first issue really made me think, oh man, Godzilla Legends is awesome. And then we get to the second issue with Rodan. Now you may be thinking, oh man, Rodan, another great Godzilla another great kaiju in the Godzilla universe. How do they mess it up? They mess it up horribly. First off, the artwork is terrible beyond all comparison, and it focuses around these really terrible characters. The story is that a scientist is kidnapped one of Rodan's eggs, and of course, you take one of the Rodan eggs, it's going to be pissed off, and he has this creepy obsession with the Rodan egg, even more so that he doesn't care much for his son, and even says, you're an idiot, and he's more or less this terrible person. Even when the egg is taken away from him, his son has this great idea to break into their facility and take the egg back. And when they get it back, his son's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be father-son bonding time," and his father's like, "LOL, nope." Hashtag egg is my son. So, long story short, Rodan comes back in, takes the baby. The son goes with him for whatever fucking reason, and then the father breaks down and cries. He's like, my son that I never cared about. It's just a bad issue, guys. And I was like, this is Rodan, one of the coolest kaiju ever. And this is the story we get? Thankfully, in the third issue, we get something a lot better. And this is the story that revolves around Titanosaurus. And what's interesting about this one is that this is the first and only time we actually get human characters and alien characters from the Godzilla universe. This is the time where we get both Miki Sagusa from the Heisei series and the Simians in comic form. I don't know why they just wanted to use it for one issue. I don't know why it was just for this issue. I don't know what kind of deal was made, but I was like, why couldn't we just have the Simians and Mickey in Rulers of Earth? That would have made a lot more sense. Why was it just this issue, and then Toho said, nope, no more human characters or alien characters? That's another rule IDW had. Because it's very clear, if you really think about Rulers of Earth, you really look at it and just go, hey, wait a minute. You look at it and go, hold on. Because the Cryogs and the Cetopians, the Devonians, the Devonians. The Cryogs and Devonians from Rulers of Earth, it's very clear they were supposed to be the Simians and the Cetopians from, of course, the Showa Godzilla films. Shape-shifting aliens and people that live under the sea, of course. Anyway, so the story centers around a kid who has the psychic connection to Titanosaurus. And it's revealed that the Simians are controlling this Kaiju Academy, and Mickey is unaware of it. And the more the child gets angry, the more his connection with Titanosaurus grows. So the artwork's pretty good, but it's more of a story centered around this boy and the Kaiju, which I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. But it's a nice little, it's a pretty good story for what it is. It's a nice little psychological story that has Titanosaurus, and the ending where we see Titanosaurus locked up, along with 2 Mechagodzillas being built on the Simian homeworld. And I was like, man, why wasn't it? I'm pretty sure this was meant for the comic books, but Toho said no. Anyway, then we get to the 4th issue, which I think is one of the... This and Anguirus are definitely the 2 best of the comics. This issue was written by Chris Mallory, and of course he does the writing on in Godzilla Rulers of Earth. But in here, this was his first time I think, if I remember right, this is Chris Mallory's first time around doing Godzilla stuff for the comics. And in here, focusing around Hedorah, is the story of the Heisei version of Mechagodzilla landing in some, I think Beijing, it's Beijing or Hong Kong, it's China, more or less. So Mechagodzilla lands in China, Heisei Mechagodzilla, I should affirm. And also, it's kind of funny, when they land, if you look really closely at the ground, you see the TARDIS among the wreckage. It's hilarious. But I digress. So they're there to, what else, kill Godzilla, and they encounter Hedorah. And there's this great fight between Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, and Hedorah. It's awesome. And it's very cool. The human characters, while there isn't much character to them, it's a one-shot, what do you expect? You do like them. You like them as, these human characters are very likable, and they're there to fight Godzilla, but it's very clear that they realize whatever this thing, because this is in this comic story, this is the first time Hedorah has ever emerged, so they have no idea what the fuck's going on. It's also kind of interesting because Matt Frank and Chris Mallory said that they initially wanted to do comics, they wanted to do a one-shot revolving around Gigan and talking about his origins, but Toho said no. So, yeah, I would have loved to seen a Gigan issue in here, but we didn't get that, unfortunately. But the Hedorah issue is definitely... I'm always torn between the Anguirus and Hedorah issues is probably the two best of this. Not to say the Rodan issue is terrible, but this one and the Kumanga story... I mean, the Titanosaurus and Kumanga story are pretty good, they make up for it. All in all, the Hedorah story is pretty awesome. Action's really good. The artwork is, it's alright. Godzilla looks a little goofy at times. It's supposed to be the Heisei design, but they make him look like a Muppet in some facial areas. Anyway. But how they draw Hedorah and showing that, yeah, he's supposed to be a slimy pile of goo, it works. Anyway. So the final story is supposed to be centered around Kumanga, but it's a Godzilla story. The story is that a man is a adventurer, more or less, has been asked by the government, and he's telling the story to a news team of how when Godzilla was making his early appearances, he was asked literally to jump on. Get this: the government asked him to jump onto Godzilla's back, to jump on his back. And study him. So the whole story is the guy climbing up Godzilla's back up to his head and learning everything he can in this radiation suit. And then Kumanga just shows up and the two fight. The fight between Godzilla and Kumanga is pretty good. It's hilarious because the guy's talking about these river pirates he encountered in his younger years. And he said, river pirates got nothing on Godzilla. A man, beating someone with their own limb? That's harsh. Because, yeah, Godzilla rips off one of Kumanga's legs, just starts pummeling Kumanga with it. That's kind of the problem with this comic, is that while the other comics had Godzilla in them, or mentioned Godzilla, they were always about the other they were always about the kaiju they're supposed to be like Anguirus. It was all about Anguirus. Rodan, as terrible as that was centered around Rodan. You see where I'm going? The final one, I would have liked it seen as centered around Kumanga, because Kumanga... Even though I'm not the biggest fan of spiders, it would have been cool to see, that kaiju who hasn't really gotten a lot of attention since, Destroy All Monsters? Well, Final Wars, excuse me. And he's never been, like, a big kaiju, heavy hitter. I would have liked to see a story centered around him. I would have preferred to seen a story centered around Kumanga, and, but the spotlight's on Godzilla. Kumanga is literally a side character in what was supposed to be his own story. But not to say it's a bad story at all, and the artwork is pretty good, for me at least. It feels very like pop art, kind of retro kind of style to it. Yeah. All in all, this is a pretty good series, but if you can find it in separate issues, you'd probably be better off. Excuse me. The Rodan issue is terrible. If you find it in trade, you'd probably be better. You'd probably find it in trade. But the Rodan issue is terrible. The rest are pretty good. The two best are definitely the Anguirus and Hedorah issues. Titanosaurus and Kumanga are good, but again, the Rodan issue is pretty terrible. Yeah, I'm always torn between. I think I might like the I'm always torn between which I like more, the Anguirus or Hedorah issue. But yeah, that's kind of my review, right? In a nutshell. So yeah, there you go, guys. There's Godzilla Legends. So you guys tell me, if you've read Godzilla Legends, what did you guys think of it? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.